supporters of our 250th birthday celebration, Duchenne High School, Bula Yomo, and Mobile Magic Auto Body. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I think the last thing we need right now is a war. That's 9,500 miles away. I think that's the last thing we need. We're doing very well.
Would the U.S. defend Taiwan if it came to it?
I don't want to say. I'm not going to say that. There's only one person that knows that. You know who it is? Me. I'm the only person. That question was asked to me today by President Xi. I said, I don't talk about those.
He asked you today.
He asked you if you would send troops, if you would. He asked me if I defend them. I said, I don't talk about that.
You told him that.
A little bit of an non-answer there from President Trump as he wraps up his visit to communist China and starts to head back home. It's Friday here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. We're going to take you into your weekend with lots of great news and analysis and some updates. And we're all three here. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Tim. Today is very sunny. It was a beautiful, nice spring day. Did have a little bad news today. I attended a funeral of a childhood high school friend who passed last week, and very sad situation that he is no longer with us. Was a good friend of mine. But one of our childhood friends who I hadn't seen in 36 years flew in from Los Angeles to give kind of a eulogy. And he said something that's very prescient for all of us, is that, one, you never know when your time is coming, and that if you have anything that you want to achieve in this life, any type of goal, go ahead and go for it. It's never too late, because you never know when God calls you home. And, I said a couple of words, too, that, I hadn't seen my friend in a few years, but we would talk on Facebook occasionally and everything. And I had planned on reaching out to him last week because I hadn't heard from him in a while and hadn't seen him post anything on Facebook. And I put it off and didn't do it. And then the following week, I hear that he had a medical emergency and has passed. So if you get that urge to reach out to someone, do it, because you may not have opportunity later.
Indeed. I could not agree more. I have been listening to the Missouri Senate and House a lot more than I maybe wanted to over the last few days. It's a bit tedious. Some may feel it's akin to watching paint dry, but having served in the House many years ago, there's also something I find weirdly relaxing and also comforting about that, listening to people actually debate, Chris, instead of just yell at each other on social media. And there was a little bit of nothing massive, but some mini filibustering going on. And you just reminded me of a story that I heard yesterday from Senator Mike Moon, who is from deep southwest Missouri. Most people in our listening area probably don't know him, but I know we have a lot of listeners across the state, so some are probably familiar with the senator from Lawrence County. And he can be a tough customer when it comes to vetting bills. He He describes himself as a strict constitutionalist and wants to make sure things are straightforward.
He's not always on the same page with his fellow colleagues.
With no one sometimes, right? Not even some of the other conservatives. So he can be a bit of a lone ranger, but he's also a human being, and he had a problem with a bill yesterday. I don't even remember what it was, but because what was more important was the story he was telling. He was engaged in a little bit of a mini filibuster. It went on for a couple hours. It was nothing massive. He was making a point about a certain bill of his that did not get to the floor. Actually, it was an important bill. And during that, Chris, he was talking about, it was a pro-life bill, okay? Mm-hmm. He's very staunchly pro-life. And during that, he said something very similar to what you just said, which reminded me of what he said yesterday. And he was talking about life and the gift of life. And you never know when the gift of life is going to be taken from you by the good Lord above. You don't know your time. And he started recounting the fact that barely 1 year ago today, he lost one of his sons.
Oh, wow.
At a tender age of, I think, his late 30s. Mm. There was a fire on a boat, I think, in D.C.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Or Virginia, and unfortunately, it took his son's life. And, you know, Mike Moon, I'm not going to say he's not like a mean and tough guy. He's kind of he's a very civil gentleman. He is a great debater. He's very pleasant, but he's also he can be a little austere from time to time. You know, doesn't show a lot of emotion.
Right.
Maybe the best way to put it. Yesterday, he showed extreme emotion, and I don't know if he was prepared for it because it just washed over him as he was just starting to talk about his son, you know, and he broke down on the Senate floor. And it was tough to listen to, but I stayed there. I stayed on the audio feed and listened to the whole thing. And I think as we end the end of the legislative session, and I'll keep an eye on, there was some major developments today with some bills, but I'll keep an eye on things. They wrap up at 6 p.m. today. You know, Chris, I think these days we've gotten to debating in sound bites and cliches and epithets on social media. And it's good to remember that all these people involved in this volunteer to get elected to public service, and they're human beings.
Yeah.
And they all have lives behind them. And so with your story and with that story, as we head into the weekend, in the beautiful month of May here, maybe take a time to experience God's love and grace this weekend with this beautiful weather we're going to have, and maybe don't sweat the small stuff for a few days.
Boy, I wish one of our troll friends who we were on a text string today.
Another thought, yes.
I wish that they would read that because, you know, we're public figures, you know, in a sense. And so they feel that they have to take shots at us. I can take it. You know, I've got thick skin. But I think they forget what you just said. You know, we're into policy. We're into politics. We debate this stuff every single day. But we're also human beings. And, you know, we don't, you know, necessarily want to be called disparaging names or have our character attacked on our motives. And, you know, people forget about that when you're a public figure. They think that you have Teflon and it doesn't bother you. And most of the time it doesn't. But I wish we could have a little more civility in our debates instead of name calling and questioning people's motives. And you're the one that knows everything and it's right. And the rest of us are just corrupt grifters.
If
you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I do. And I was just thinking about how I think most people are still pretty decent human beings. And by the way, Chris, I want to point out that, so if you looked at probably your you do a lot of Facebook.
Right.
If anybody were to, any normal person who's not involved in the political public policy world, if you were to look at your Facebook page or my Twitter feed right now, most normal human beings would be shocked and chagrined, right?
Yeah.
And if you were to look at my Twitter feed, you would be very confused about who I am because in the same probably 5 replies to whatever I put out today, you would see leftist trolls, mainly anonymous, calling me a Nazi, fascist, orange Trump-loving pedophile.
And that's on a good day.
Dirtbag. Yeah, and that's a nice one, right? And then, Chris, about 3 posts later, you would see someone who claims to be a conservative, who knows everything about what it really means to be a constitutional conservative in this land. You would see them calling me a rhino, corporate grifter, sellout, blah, blah, blah. And I think if someone landed from Mars and looked at that, they'd be like, well, who the hell is Tim Jones, you know?
Yeah.
Basically, you know what I would say? I'm a pretty normal human being who believes in movement conservatism, kind of in the vein of Ronald Reagan. And I wish – I don't understand people like the one person you referenced who get so angry about a public policy position that someone holds. There's 3 bills right now that are more likely than not, I can almost say with 100% certainty, that I love that are going to die today on the Senate floor. And I've been pushing for them, and I've been critical of the fact that Senate leadership hasn't moved them, and they most likely are going to die. And I think they're really great bills. But you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to let it go. I'm going to move on. I'm going to focus on the next thing at hand, and we'll get back to it next year.
I tell you, one of the reasons why the criticism from people that are anonymous or people that don't know me personally is the fact that they don't know me personally, and that helps me get around a lot of the criticism. Because as long as my wife knows who I am and people that I work with and people that have been my friends for years, they know my character, then the character assassination that I get from other people just rolls off my back. I don't care because you don't know you don't know me. You know nothing about me.
And none of these keyboard commandos have ever said anything like that, like what they say online. They've never said it to my face.
Yeah.
And you and I are out in the public plenty.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, maybe a little too much out in the public. I think we have to maybe watch our backs a little bit more because people know the events we go to and the places we appear. And there's been a few times recently where I've been a little nervous about appearing somewhere, especially right after the Charlie Kirk assassination. I've said to some of the organizers of these events that News Talk STL participates, I said, are you going to make sure that, like, you know, local police departments around, just kind of aware? And they go, yeah, we're taking care of that. But, you know, it's interesting, though, that these people who are so brave behind their keyboard never dare, and I'm not inviting them to do so, but I just find it interesting they never say that stuff to you in person.
I'll give you an example of that. The person that we are talking about with the initials JB came to a county council chambers where the state committee has their meetings. My wife is a member of the state committee. And we were outside in the parking lot, and she was talking a bunch of crap. You know, I know that it was directed towards me. And I straight up said to her, I was like, if you have something to say to me, say it to my face.
Yeah.
And nothing. Crickets.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
I said, if you got something to say it to my face. I'm right here. Tell me. Say it.
Yeah.
Didn't say a word, but they are as tough as nails on the internet.
They sure are. I don't know. You wonder, you want to have a psychiatrist put them on a couch and figure out what went wrong and why. I don't understand how anyone can be so angry and hateful about a public policy position that someone disagrees with them on, you know? I think we should mainly be concerned about the big things, right? Like, are we going to have a country in 10 years or not? You know, they always forget. Some of these folks like to fight with people on their own side of the aisle more than identifying what the real problem is. And the real problem is whether or not we're going to continue to have the freedoms and liberties that are ensconced in the Constitution. You think we could all work together for something like that to make sure that the United States of America doesn't go down the wrong path in a totality.
And what I'd like to know is who is the one that has appointed them as the keeper and holy grail of conservatism,
That too.
Everyone else is a grifter or is not a conservative, but they are the gold standard of what conservatism is. I want to know who appointed these folks to that exalted position.
Indeed, I do as well. Well, you can see that we both had some of the same things on our chest today. We got that out. And we'll continue to watch the Missouri legislature as it grinds towards the finish here at 6 p.m. today. Chris and I kicked off the session.
Yeah.
Man, hard to believe 4.5 months ago in the Capitol, under the Capitol Dome. Like I said, I was at home working all day, listening, bouncing back and forth between the House and the Senate audio feeds. And there's a few good things that passed today. Like I said, I give this session a solid B. I think there were some good things that happened a few weeks ago. There was actually a few things that got across the finish line today that are to be celebrated. And they'll just have to go back to the drawing board next year for some of the other major items. We have a special guest today. We first thought that, Congressman Bob Onder's staff thought he was going to be in the air all afternoon, and he might have grabbed an earlier flight because he actually reached out to Chris and I a moment ago and said, hey, what's the topic today? And we said, we had no idea you were going to be on. So he's going to join us at a special time. I had a different speaker stump speech plan, so I'll just delay that till Monday. We'll have Bob Onder on at 5 o'clock. But, Chris, there's been a lot going on in the county this week.
A lot.
Last few weeks. And I thought that when Joey was able to snag Mike Archer, I thought that was a great catch for 425 today.
Yeah, and that's going to be very special because especially what's going on with Sam Page, the county, I guess, is trying to remove him legally. And Mike Archer, Councilman Archer, spent a great deal of his career in the prosecutor's office. The current prosecutor has recused herself from this case. So he'll be able to give us a very interesting perspective on exactly what the county council did this week regarding Sam Page.
Ah, that's going to be fantastic indeed. Fun fact, when I was a young buck lawyer, I used to have to appear before Mike Archer and beg him for plea deals because he was one of the frontline prosecutors. He was always such a good guy to talk to. You know, Chris, he was such a good prosecutor with such a good poker face. I never knew his politics.
I can see that. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
He is a Reagan-esque conservative, and I didn't know that until just a few years ago when he popped up at some Republican meeting I was at, and I was like, "You're a Republican?"
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. We should not know where our judges, prosecutors, they should
media
just be
folks.
Some, not us. We're commentators. But like the frontline news people. Exactly, yeah. So it'll be great to have Mike Archer on, former prosecutor, current county councilman, to talk about that. And we'll talk about, like, the condition of the county as a whole. Chris's Corner will occur at 4:45.
Yes, we talked yesterday about judges and lenient judges and how I think that they should be held accountable besides impeachment and removal from office. And I've got a commentary on that on a current case when judges gamble with public safety. And a judge did exactly that. And I'm going to recount that story and give a little thoughts on how we could maybe reform that system.
I will be interested in hearing that as a member of the bar, still in good standing. The Speaker Stump speech, the title that I had for it will still be applicable because we're having a congressman on with us today, Republican Congressman Dr. Bob Onder. America must remain the lone superpower. We'll ask Dr. Bob about his thoughts regarding the just concluded China summit that President Trump engaged in. We'll ask him about the second reconciliation bill that's working through the process and the all-important midterms, which are more rapidly approaching every single week. At 5:25, Chris, I heard your promo about our guest. It was great. Chris Salcedo, didn't you said something like, the media says Hispanics can't be conservatives or something of that sort.
Yeah.
Chris Salcedo is a Hispanic American, he'd probably just say I'm an American. He's the executive director of the Conservative Hispanic Society. He's the host of the Chris Salcedo radio show out of Texas, the Lone Star State. We're going to talk to him about how a growing number of Hispanic Americans are standing up for faith, family, freedom, and the Constitution. He's an author as well. My goodness, this guy's a Renaissance man.
He's got a show on Newsmax as well.
Yes, he does. He is a busy bee. And finally, the moment Joey believes that everyone has been waiting for all week long. 5:45 today, Joey V's Movies.
Today we're talking obsession. It's about what happens when you wish for a girl to fall in love with you and what could possibly go wrong if that wish just isn't understood by the little device. They call that a monkey's paw sometimes, I think, where you're just not getting what you want. So Friday, today, 5:45, Joey V's Movies.
And what's very interesting to me is this is a horror movie, so I'm very interested to hear your opinion on it.
And Chris is a very suave guy. He's never had trouble with women, so he won't be able to relate to this at all. Me, same. Tim, same. So
yeah, we would know.
We'll see if we can translate what Gen Z is talking about, because that's what this movie circles around. It's like kind of a Gen Z horror film. I'll explain what that means.
Well, they don't have any social skills, so I can see how they would have some problems with women.
I think we'll break down the Gen Z stare. That's a term that's been
heard about that.
floating around, and I think Chris and I can talk about what happens when you go into a restaurant and you order something, and they don't even say hi, they don't smile. That's part of the Gen Z stare.
No.
Are you late millennial or I'm sorry, are you early millennial or late Gen X, or what are you?
The Gen X guy.
I've heard it called Xennial. Xennial. That means that I grew up without the internet and the internet. So 1985, no internet, and then about 1998, it just changes your life, and then you're thrown into the deep end. So Xennial, I would say.
Xennial.
Yeah.
Very good.
I like that. First time I ever heard that.
I think that's cool indeed. All right, 4:23. Let's step aside because we have lots to discuss with our first guest of the afternoon, St. Louis County Councilman, former prosecuting attorney Mike Archer. What's up with Sam Page and this ethics probe? Does it have meat on the bone? Councilman Archer will explain that to us and more on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1, News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms coming in Saturday morning, an isolated storm or two producing some wind or hail, not out of the question, but it's a low severe risk. Then we'll get some dry time in the afternoon, but we could see another isolated storm late day and early evening. 83 for the high as it's going to be warm and a little bit muggy. Sunday's hotter and dry, 90 for the high under partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey everybody, it's your buddy Todd from The Right Mind Show. And here's my celebrity friend, Larry Hankin from Seinfeld and Breaking Bad.
I never wanted to end up, talking on the phone to Todd.
The Right Mind Show, Saturday afternoons at 5 on News Talk STL.
Yeah, we're still in the middle of spring storm season. Hopefully, next couple weeks or so, we will ease out of it. But if you are concerned at all anywhere in the St. Louis City, County, St. Charles County region writ large about your roof and whether it did sustain any damage or not over the last few weeks or months, I would urge you to contact Correll Roofing Company, Correll. CorrellRoofingCo.com is where you find them online. CorrellRoofingCo.com, our new favorite roofing company indeed. Curtis Correll, with over 20 years of experience in the roofing business, he and his team are standing by to take care of you today to provide exceptional service and top quality craftsmanship. And here's some other key bonus items. This company, run by Curtis Correll, is locally owned. They're not storm chasers. Independently owned. They're not linked up with any kind of giant mega corporation that's going to require you to press 14 different numbers to get a hold of them. And they are family owned. So they're like in this for the long haul, and they're trying to provide lots of great jobs and opportunities for people in this region. What an excellent thing to know about the folks who are going to be up on your roof checking it out. Do you have any idea about the damage on your roof? Well, don't you be getting up there, especially if you have like a 2-story house and a peaked roof, which a lot of homes do these days. I would get the experts up there, have them check it out. They'll give you the peace of mind. They'll take care of you from beginning to the end. They'll work with your insurance company. They will get the best deal for you possible. They have over 2 decades of experience, like I said, in this business. I would call no one else other than Correll Roofing Company. They're at Correll, CorrellRoofingCo.com, CorrellRoofingCo.com, your one-stop roofing shop.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Hey, it's Vic. If you have a tree that you think is dead, you can get Roots Plus to remove it for you. Or if you think the tree is savable, or if Roots Plus thinks it's savable, they can save your tree and you keep your cash. Call them and find out what that's all about at 314-440-3662. The crews are great. They get things done. They removed the tree for me, and they did expert work, and I definitely will put my name on their company. So save the tree with Roots Plus LLC. RootsPlusLLC.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon.
4 years ago, St. Louis County voters made it clear with a change to the county charter that the county executive's entire time shall be devoted to the duties of the office, and they can't hold another job while in office. If they violate that, they can be removed. County Executive Sam Page is an anesthesiologist and largely gave up that work after the charter change, but since then claims he's been volunteering.
But with the rules that are in place, I've lived by those rules. Some folks can't understand why someone would volunteer and not get paid, but most people in St. Louis County do.
429, and there you have the exalted St. Louis County Executive Sam Page. On the line with us is St. Louis County Councilman Mike Archer of the 6th District, one of the good guys in politics and someone I consider a personal friend. But Councilman, we're going to keep it formal. I'll call you Councilman all throughout the interview. Is that all right?
No, call me Mike. You know that. You know better than that, Chris, because I thought of you this morning when I was flying all by myself over Southern Illinois.
Yeah, I keep thinking about that. I will not get in a plane. Any plane I get into has to have at least 30 seats in it.
This had 4, and I thought about my good buddy Chris Arps and how much fun he would have with me.
Yeah, one day. Councilman, St. Louis County voted to send Sam Page ethics probe to prosecutors. You are a longtime employee of the prosecutor's office. I guess what a lot of us are asking is what took so long?
Well, what took so long is the fact of we have to kind of back up from the standpoint of we now have our own lawyer. Because before, you would ask the county counselor, Mark Harder would ask the county counselor to get a subpoena, and the county counselor was working for Sam Page, so they would slow walk everything. We now have our own attorney. We have gotten the subpoenas, and the charter is quite clear, where in section 3.010 it says the county executive's entire time shall be devoted to the duties of his office. We got those subpoenas back and found out that Cindy Winkler filed an MEC complaint alleging 48 instances. We got the subpoenas back, and we found out that there were 330 instances where he practiced medicine. So that is the basis for the referral from the Ethics Committee to the full council. Then the full council voted to refer that to the prosecuting attorney as well as to the Attorney General's office. I have been on the phone the last week or so with representatives of the Attorney General's office. They are going to be going further with this. They're not telling me where they're going to go, how they're going to do it, but they think that there's more there, and they're going to be doing some more investigation. The practical effect of this, Chris, is that the Attorney General's office could file what's called a quo warranto action. In section 3.015, where it says, notwithstanding any other provisions of this charter, the county executive's entire time shall be devoted to the duties of the office, and the county executive shall hold no other employment. And it talks about that if he does, he forfeits his office. So that requires a pleading called a quo warranto in front of a judge to determine if he has violated the charter, and then the judge could remove him from office.
Councilman Archer, Michael, thanks for joining us this afternoon. You and I have both known Sam Page for a very long time. And unlike a fine wine, he seems to be getting worse with age, doesn't he? I mean, this isn't the only situation where he has acted like an elitist tyrant. And it's not just you Republicans, right? I mean, my understanding is he fights with pretty much everyone, Democrat, Republican, and he believes that he should just be able to run the county as only he sees fit with zero accountability to the county council or to the voters.
Right, and the word for that, I think, comes to mind of Tim of vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
What fine wine turns into when there's a hole in the cork, and I'll leave it at that. But by the same token, we're looking at this, and he says that he follows the rules, but I don't think he's read the rules. I don't think he's even curious as to what the rules are, because to me, that's crystal clear. It says you shall not.
Mm-hmm.
And, Tim, you and I know, and everybody and all your listeners know that shall means mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know where he says that he's following this. And he says, well, I'm not getting compensated. Well, that's a distinction without a difference, because what happens is that the voters said, you shall devote all your time to this office. He's not doing that. And if you look at that summary, practically every Monday he's at the hospital.
I see that.
And because I provided you guys with that summary,
Yep.
And you look at that and you're like Monday, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought the county executive was a full-time job, but every Monday he's there handling multiple cases. He was even questioned from the standpoint of, I said that he was effectively unavailable, because if an emergency happened and he was in a surgical suite, his full attention is devoted to that patient. And then he says, well, no, I can take phone calls. And I'm like, would I really want to be that patient?
No.
You've got to, first of all, he's wheeling you in. And then it's like, I'm a volunteer. And, oh, by the way, and he's talking with Dr. Cunningham about putting an animal down, with the animal shelter. And you're like, what part of this just is so bizarre, it seems surreal. It just boggles my mind. And I'm trying to keep from explaining to Jeff Allen and Joe Rush about why they might have an FCC violation with me. So I'm watching my language.
We're speaking with 6th District St. Louis County Councilman Mike Archer. Mike, I want to ask you a political question, and this may be a question you can answer or shouldn't answer. But if Sam Page would have had a better relationship with the council, would this be an issue? I think most people can understand he's a medical doctor. He needs to do things to keep his certifications up. If he is working the job 95, 96% of the time, and he's just doing some things, to keep his medical certifications up, is that something that would have probably been overlooked if he didn't have just a terrible relationship with the county council?
Chris, with me as the head of the ethics committee, I've got to say no.
Okay.
And the reason that I say no is that a violation of the charter is a violation of the charter. I don't care if I'm getting along with them. I don't care if politically they agree with me 95% of the time. If somebody violates the charter, I have to, under my duties as the chairman of the ethics committee, I have to call that out. And Tim once accused me of, if my mother had violated the law, I would have prosecuted her. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So that's the situation that we have here, is that I don't think he would have gotten a pass. At least he wouldn't have gotten a pass from me, because if you violate the charter, you violate the charter, period. And part of my oath was to uphold the Constitution and to uphold the charter of St. Louis County. And I take that oath very seriously. So in answer to that question, Chris, I don't think it would make a difference as far as I'm concerned.
Mike, the reason for the spirit of the law behind the letter of the law is that the county executive position, as we've just discussed, is intended to be a full-time position, and it comes with a full-time salary. And I'm thinking back to some of the previous county executives, both Democrat and, I got to think way back when I was a little kid, when there was a couple Republicans still in that office. But I remember them, and some of them have had some questionable problems as well. But they were full-time county executives and then some, because managing a county of nearly 1 million people with all the complex issues we have, you can describe this to our listeners better than we can because you have a front row seat to it. It's a full-time job and then some, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It is a full-time job and then some. And, you've got a staff that you delegate a lot of duties to, and you've got to oversee that. And by the same token, Tim, is that the elected prosecuting attorney has the same restrictions. The elected county assessor has the same restrictions, no outside employment. And they devote full time to those positions. And there's always issues coming up where you need decisions. And God forbid if Sam Page on a Monday is in surgery and we have an emergency where he has to declare a state of emergency, which he's the only one that can do that, and he's out of pocket, and we've got chlorine gas spewing, on a railway, on a derailed car someplace. I just shudder to think what would happen with the delay in that response. So, it is a full-time job, Tim, and plus some, with all the events and activities that he's expected to attend. So I don't see how he has time to devote to this. But by the same token, the charter amendment speaks for itself, and that was enacted by the voters of St. Louis County. This is what the voters wanted, and that's not what the voters are getting.
Mm-hmm. Mike, Sam Page recently announced that there is a $6.39 million shortfall in the budget. To shore up that hole, he's canceled the J.B. Blast celebration, and he has cut county services. I think some of the offices are closed on Friday. Tell us about that situation.
Well, that situation is basically spiteful because the J.B. Blast is down in my area, and the county offices that are being closed are in Mark Harder's area, in my area.
Just a coincidence, right?
Well, it's amazing how these things happen, Chris. It's just such a coincidence. And what is happening is that last year, I pulled the records, we had private sponsors for the JB Blast, for the fireworks and things. So Dennis Hancock pulled that, and basically it cost the county about $2,500. The problem that we have with that is that the directors that issue the permits work directly for Sam Page. We would need Dr. Cunningham's blessing for the food trucks, for the porta potties with Department of Health. We would need Brian Schaefer's blessing for the permits, and we're not going to be able to get those. So that's kind of where we are with that. I'm still trying to do a workaround, but it's not looking real good right now, Chris. I've been talking with a lot of community leaders, and we're still trying to do a workaround, but we're running out of time, quite truthfully.
Yeah. Mike, we got just a couple minutes left here. What is coming up next that you see that will be the next big challenge for the county council to meet?
Well, the next big challenge for the county council is that we are all meeting with our different directorates. And there is a county liaison with each one of the divisions. So we are all meeting with our different directorates, and we're doing a deep dive into our own divisions. So the challenge is to find more efficiencies. And like Sam Page closing the offices on Friday to the people, that doesn't save any money at all. So we're looking at efficiencies. We're looking at possibly AI. I know that that's a dirty word to a lot of people, but one of the budgets that I supervise is the prosecuting attorney's office, and they've done a lot in terms of using online warrant applications, in terms of search warrants, and streamlining that so that it is very, very efficient, and there's a lot of cost-saving measures there. We have a lot of upfront software costs, but we get a really good return on investment. So that's one of the major challenges. The other major challenge is basically there's a distraction as to what's going to happen on June 12th with Sam Page's case management conference in Springfield on the 2 felonies, 2 misdemeanors. We really don't know what direction that's going to go. But like Retta Day said, that's going to be a distraction. We need to focus on the budget and the business of the people of St. Louis County. So the budget is the main one that we're working on right now, Tim.
And that is Mike Archer, St. Louis County Councilman, 6th District. Mike, give the folks your web address if they want to get a hold of you, or your email.
Yeah, my email is marcher@stlouiscountymo.gov. And we answer all of our emails and get back with you. The telephone number is 314-615-5442. And please give us a call. Let us know if you're happy, sad. We can call you back and see what we can do. And it's been a very interesting ride the last 18 months.
I'm sure it has. Mike, thank you so much for your time, and have a great weekend, and keep us updated on this whole situation.
Yeah, if I fly again, I'll let you know, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Have a great day. 444. I mean, how spiteful can you be, Tim, to cancel the JB Blast celebration on America's 250th anniversary?
He's like that angry old man yelling, "Get off my lawn."
Exactly. All right, 444, Chris's Corner, when judges gamble with public safety. That coming up next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
With or without you.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms coming in Saturday morning. An isolated storm or two producing some wind or hail, not out of the question, but it's a low severe risk. Then we'll get some dry time in the afternoon, but we could see another isolated storm late day and early evening. 83 for the high, as it's going to be warm and a little bit muggy. Sunday's hotter and dry. 90 for the high under partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story. This date, 1972, the attempted assassination of George Wallace.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Hey, I'm going to tell you all about Hanson's Tree Service. I'm also going to tell you about the founder of Hanson's Tree Service, Jeff Hanson, and he left us at too young of an age. I cannot believe it. It's been 11 years. And in his honor, his son, who runs Hanson's Tree, Chad Hanson, who you hear often here on News Talk STL, he and his Aunt Debbie, Jeff's sister, they established the Jeff Hanson Memorial Foundation, and they do a sporting clay event. So for all you outdoorsmen, outdoors women, and shooters, and and hunters and that sort, it's tomorrow. The 11th annual Jeff Hanson Memorial Foundation sporting clay event is tomorrow. And I thought I heard Chad say the other day on one of our shows there may be 1 or 2 teams available, but, whether or not, come up and support this great cause. A bunch of us are going to be up there tomorrow morning in Old Monroe at the Black Hawk Valley Hunting Preserve. It's a beautiful facility. I was up there last year. They're going to have breakfast. They'll have the event. They'll have lunch. Chad runs a really tight event. The whole thing kicks off at like 8 a.m. and you're done before noon. They have all kinds. You can still do sponsorships. You can make a contribution to the cause. You can see a lot of us from News Talk STL there. And it's supposed to be a gorgeous day and a beautiful morning tomorrow up in Old Monroe, up in Lincoln County. So I want you to check that out. Information on that is at newstalkstl.com. We have a rotating electronic billboard on our website every single day, running all the events and the things that we are engaged in. And that is one of the 4 or 5 things that is up there at the very top of the page. So just go to newstalkstl.com. And you will see the Jeff Hanson Memorial Sporting Clay event pop up. It's a great cause. The foundation has given tens of thousands of dollars out to very worthy charities all around our region. And I want you to go to hansonstree.com. Chad Hanson now running this awesome company, family-owned company, locally owned, independently owned, providing expert-insured tree care all over the St. Louis metro and beyond. No job too big or too small. And they're also working down at the Lake of the Ozarks as well. Everything at hansonstree.com. Is easy to access and review. Ordering mulch online, very simple. Hassle-free estimates, 6 months Samish cash financing. You can apply for that and more. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com. Check them out 24/7, hansonstree.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddie's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
When judges gamble with public safety, Tyler Brown shot at 2 Boston police officers. Prosecutors asked for a sentence of 12 to 15 years. Police officers and probation officials warned that he posed a serious danger. But Suffolk Superior Court Judge Janet Sanders decided to go in a completely different direction. She sentenced Brown to just 5 to 6 years in prison, and in courtroom audio released later, openly admitted she was, quote, taking a chance that he would not reoffend. A chance on a man convicted of shooting at police officers. Now, years later, Tyler Brown is accused again, this time of opening fire on random motorists driving down a Boston parkway last week. And that raises a question Americans are increasingly asking. At what point does judicial leniency become judicial negligence? Because let's be honest about what happened here. This wasn't a judge lacking information. This wasn't a paperwork error. This wasn't new evidence proving innocence. Judge Sanders had prosecutors asking for more than double the sentence. She had warnings from law enforcement. She had warnings from probation officials, and she still consciously chose leniency. Now, innocent people are allegedly paying the price for that gamble. And here's what frustrates so many Americans. Judges have almost total immunity from civil liability. A doctor can be sued for malpractice. A business can be sued for negligence. Police officers can face investigations and lawsuits. Politicians can lose elections. But judges can repeatedly release violent offenders who go on to commit war crimes. And there's almost no mechanism for accountability beyond elections, impeachment, or judicial conduct complaints. That's why public trust in the system erodes. Because Americans understand mercy, Americans believe in second chances, but they also believe that when someone shoots at police officers, protecting the public should matter more than progressive criminal justice theories. And here's the deeper issue. Too many judges today seem more worried about the rights of violent offenders than the rights of future victims. The system always talks about the defendant's future. What about the future of the innocent family driving down that parkway? What about their rights? What about their safety? What about the gamble forced on them without their consent? Judicial discretion was never supposed to mean judicial immunity from criticism. And when judges repeatedly ignore warnings, reduce sentences for violent criminals, and then those criminals allegedly offend again, the public has every right to demand accountability. A courtroom is not a casino. Judges are not supposed to gamble with public safety, especially when innocent people are the ones forced to pay the price when the bet goes bad. And that is Chris's Corner.
Yeah, there's very little Very little recourse.
Yeah.
Um,
There has to be. I mean,
when
just
judges
too many
run
of these,
wild.
Too many of these instances where a judge is known for giving lenient sentences, and we have too many cases of these people going out and committing more heinous crimes than what they were originally convicted of.
Yeah, in Missouri, I can speak directly to that. There is an impeachment provision, rarely ever used, but I think it has been utilized, maybe 3 or 4 times in our history or recent history. So, but that's very rare, going back like 100 some odd years. And then we have the retention vote, right? We have federal judges are appointed
lifetime.
for life.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there is I assume there's an impeachment. Like if a judge were to completely go off their rocker, I would presume there's something like a 25th Amendment procedure or an impeachment procedure there. And you're right, Chris. It's tough balancing. On one hand, we don't want judges to be affected by whatever the public fad straw poll of the day is.
Right.
On the other hand, when you see a judge engaging in a course of conduct that's repetitive and that is not in the public's best interest, what the heck do you do?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that's where the legislature comes in passing like minimum sentencing deadlines and things like that. But we had a story yesterday where we had a prosecutor who was completely running afoul.
Yeah.
So it's like you can have things break down in the system. If you have a bad judge and a good prosecutor, sometimes you get a bad result, opposite. Or if you have a great prosecutor and a bad judge, it's very difficult. And if someone is engaging in a course of conduct that is not in the public's best interest, there should be a tool to at least have that discussion and debate and let the people decide.
The only federal judge that I know that was impeached, it was a gentleman named Alcee Hastings down in Florida, and he was impeached for taking bribes for some of his sentencing. And Tim, he later became a Florida congressman. He died about 4 or 5 years ago. But, yeah, he was impeached,
Isn't that
thrown out,
appropriate?
ran for Congress, and was a long-term congressman.
You wonder what people think sometimes when they vote for people like that. But, yeah, we've got a major problem in this country right now with we're supposed to have a fair and accountable system of justice, and it seems like we have a lot of judges who are in the activist, just like some of our congresspeople right now. They're in the activist role, not the public service role.
Tim, the latest news on the redistricting front, of course, Tennessee has eliminated the sole Democratic district. That congressman's name is Steve Cohen. Guess what, Tim? He announced that he's ending his reelection bid. He says, I don't want to quit. I'm not a quitter, but these districts were drawn to beat me. So he went in, thrown in the towel because he knew he didn't have a snowball's chance in winning. And he went in and dropped his bid.
Pick up one there for the GOP.
Exactly. That's an easy one. And Rudy Giuliani, remember he was
sick,
very sick, had pneumonia. Well, he returned to his show yesterday
No
for the
way.
first time. He was hospitalized for a viral pneumonia earlier this month. So Rudy has made a full recovery. He's back on his show. I think Rudy's one of these people that has about 7 or 8 lives.
He has to. He's a wild man. I know people have a variety of opinions about him. He has had a crazy career, ups and downs, peaks and valleys, but you cannot deny that he is one tough customer.
Yeah, because, I mean, they were kind of counting him out. I mean, he was seriously ill. I forgot what the medical term is, but it didn't sound like he was going to survive.
He had bacterial pneumonia or something like that, which is very serious. He has survived the mob. He has survived political witch hunts, and he has survived pneumonia.
Strong guy. All right, Speaker Stump Speech at 5:07.
We got Bob Onder joining us. A little late, but not too late to be on the show today. America must remain the lone superpower. We'll discuss that with the congressman.
And we'll speak with Newsmax and radio host Chris Salcedo at 5:23. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Taiwan is emerging as a major sticking point in relations between the United States and China after President Trump concluded his three-day visit to Beijing.
Taiwan is a self-ruled island that China claims as its own territory. The president was also asked if he would defend Taiwan if it came to that.
I don't want to say. I'm not going to say that. There's only one person that knows that. You know who it is? Me.
The Trump administration has authorized the arms sale, but it is yet to move forward. China opposes the deal. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Unionized workers for North America's largest commuter rail system could go on strike.
The Long Island Railroad could shut down Saturday at 12:01 a.m. if unionized workers and the train system can't reach a tentative contract. The railroad, which serves New York City's eastern suburbs, is North America's largest commuter rail system, carrying some 250,000 customers each weekday. The railroad and the union representing locomotive engineers, machinists, and other train workers have been negotiating for months. A strike was temporarily averted in September when the Trump administration agreed to help. Those efforts ended without a deal, and both sides were given 60 days to try again. I'm Donna Warder.
The death toll from a Russian missile attack that flattened a Kyiv apartment building has risen to 24. It was one of the deadliest attacks on the capital in the four-year war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says 3 teenagers were among the victims. He led an official day of mourning Friday in Kyiv, a day after the Russian cruise missile struck the 9-story corner block in Russia's biggest barrage of the country since its full-scale invasion in 2022. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 537 points, the S&P lower by 92. More at Town Hall.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms coming in Saturday morning, an isolated storm or two producing some wind or hail, not out of the question, but it's a low severe risk. Then we'll get some dry time in the afternoon, but we could see another isolated storm late day and early evening. 83 for the high as it's going to be warm and a little bit muggy. Sunday's hotter and dry, 90 for the high under partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When you count on Connor, you're getting the timeless American values that have guided our company from day one. Hard work, impeccable service, and honesty. At Connor Roofing, you aren't just getting a roof, you're getting safeguarded by a neighbor who cares. When you count on Connor, you're receiving protection for your home, your family, and your peace of mind.
Visit ConnorRoofing.com.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No?
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We're also turning our attention to a big week next week here in Congress. We're going to have a lot of important measures scheduled for floor action. Let me list a couple of them for you. The Reconciliation 2.0 legislation, which has been developing now to fully fund the immigration enforcement and border protection for 3 years through the rest of the Trump administration. And I will say this is incredibly, despite Democrat opposition. Think of it. They do not want to give $1 to secure your border and to enforce federal immigration law to keep your streets and communities safe. It's unbelievable to us, but that's where it is. Republicans have to do it on our own, and we will do that next week.
Dr. Bob Onder, Congressman for Missouri's 3rd District.
We're calling Dr. Bob. We're calling Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob.
And as a special bonus, Congressman Dr. Bob Onder is also the subject of today's Speaker Stump Speech. Joey, no need to play the theme. We've had enough themes. We're good. But we want to thank Hanson Tree Service for always sponsoring the Speaker Stump Speech. And when we found out that the congressman was going to be a bit delayed today, but not completely unable to join the show, we said, hey, we will absolutely fit you in because of what Speaker Johnson just said. There's a lot going on in Congress. So first of all, Doc, welcome back home here in the heartland. I'm sure you're always excited when you take off and say goodbye to the land of make-believe.
Oh, that's for sure. I'm on that first Southwest flight out of D.C., and it's good to be home. Just arrived back in God's County, St. Charles, moments ago.
Very good. So, Bob, what will be on the docket next week as you head? I know you're heading towards got the Memorial Day holiday coming up, and then of course there'll be the August recess right around the corner. It's a midterm year, so there's a lot of politicking that has to be done and that sort. But sounds like the Speaker has a lot in store for all of you to try to accomplish before all of the holidays and the campaigning begins.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We do need to do that next reconciliation bill, which will fund ICE and the Border Patrol, and will provide, very likely, will be providing money for Secret Service and security at the White House. So we will finally, at long last, get all of the Department of Homeland Security funded, which is especially important at a time when we have this conflict in Iran going on. And then we move from there on to Reconciliation 3.0, the third reconciliation bill. And what might that include? Well, I wanted to include the Save America Act, absolutely cuts to waste, fraud, and abuse. And we just by the day see more and more examples of places where we could be saving massive amounts of money. First it was Minnesota, of course, and then Ohio. But I could give you examples in both the Medicaid and Medicare program where there are massive amounts of fraud and abuse that we need to cut so we can save those programs for those who truly need them. Of course, at some point we're going to need to pass a supplemental budget to basically replenish our missiles and drones and so on that we have expended in the Iran conflict. And you remember the first reconciliation bill, the House version defunded Planned Parenthood for a decade. It defunded transgender mutilation for a decade. That all got reduced by the Senate parliamentarian to 1 year of defunding for Planned Parenthood. We need to do that again. And this time our senators need to fight harder and permanently defund Planned Parenthood and the mutilation of our children.
Congressman, included in Reconciliation 2.0 is money for the White House ballroom. Some senators on the Senate side, Republican senators, are grumbling a bit about that money. They are saying that it's bad optics to include that money in that bill with affordability and all the issues that are happening before the election. Do you see the ballroom money ultimately making it within this reconciliation bill?
Yeah, Chris. I mean, I see what those senators mean about optics. It sounds really bad with all the other problems we have going on. That that we're quote spending money on a ballroom. I don't really think of it that way because after all, we just had trying to have a very sensitive event with lots of high-level officials, the president, the vice president, and many others, at a public hotel space. That could have been catastrophic if it weren't for the quick action of our Secret Service and other police personnel. So I think we do need a secure facility on the grounds of the White House to hold these events in a safe way. And I think what the president and the administration are saying is that still the plan is for the ballroom to be privately funded, but we need money for security, security aspects of that project. At the end of the day, it doesn't get funded. I'll tell you, if it were my, as Yogi Berra said, it's always hard to make predictions, right, especially when it has to do with the future. My gut is that it comes out, but we'll see.
Speaking with Congressman Dr. Bob Onder, Missouri's 3rd Congressional District. Bob, I'm sure you were watching with great interest to the Senate hearing this week conducted by Dr. Rand Paul in the explosive testimony that came out of that regarding Dr. Tony Fauci's alleged involvement with the COVID-19 lab leak cover-up. I mean, Doc, it'd be great if the world would admit that we all told you so, right? Because the evidence was all right before us in front of our very eyes over the last few years with Fauci's involvement with all the shell companies and what he was doing in Wuhan, China, in that lab there, et cetera, and so forth. We were told we were crazy and conspiracy theorists. The problem is, Bob, all the Democrats skipped the hearing, and I'm fairly certain that most of the legacy media refused to give it even 1 second of coverage. But at least we can say there's been accountability, even if more than half the country wants to try to choose to ignore it.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, we have to give Dr. Rand Paul a lot of credit for being tenacious about this, because this isn't just rehashing. Well, what's in the past is in the past. It's water under the bridge. No, when there is high level corruption in our government, when our government lies to us over and over and over again, we need to get to the bottom of who knew what and when they knew it. And it turns out, according to the CIA whistleblower who testified under oath this week and previously testified privately before the Senate, that in 2021, the intelligence community, and he was in charge of the committee within the CIA investigating this, the IC was ready to conclude that the COVID virus was the result of a lab leak from Wuhan, China. And Mr. Erdman testified that the Biden CIA and Dr. Fauci colluded to cover up and suppress the information in favor of their preferred narrative that the virus was from some pangolin or some wet market or some crazy thing. So he said that Fauci, quote, injected himself into the discussion, and the CIA changed their conclusion. And to make things even worse, Dr. Erdman or Mr. Erdman alleges that the CIA covered up the evidence and then intimidated and spied on any CIA employee who disagreed with their course of action. Now, I would say parenthetically, this is the same CIA that wants us to extend FISA warrants and searches on American citizens without a warrant, and says, trust us, we do no wrong. So anyway, this was corruption at the highest level. Fauci lied to us, the CIA lied to us, our intelligence community lied to us, the Biden administration lied to us, and the whole public health community lied to us about this issue and about many other things pertaining to COVID. Look, if you and your listeners do not trust the government, this is exactly why, and this illustrates exactly why we should not trust the government, and why I, for one, won't vote for a so-called clean authorization of FISA without reforms and a warrant requirement that are complying with our Constitution.
Congressman, your House colleagues yesterday voted a 212 to 212 tie on a war powers resolution. Me personally, I think this is a bad thing to do, especially when the president is overseas, with China. The Senate did the same type of action earlier in the week, holding war powers resolution act, basically undercutting the president while he is in a foreign country. Your thoughts on the 212-212 tie vote?
Yeah, Chris, I agree with you completely. I think there are some things that we ought to be able to agree on, and I would hope most of our Democratic colleagues agree on, but apparently not. First is that it is, although we may wonder, have questions about the timing, it is unacceptable and always has been that Iran have a nuclear weapon. Secondly, we are now in the Persian Gulf, in the middle of a substantial conflict with Iran, one in which we've destroyed the Iranian Air Force and Navy, done enormous damage to its capacity to build missiles and drones, as well as its nuclear capacity. But at the same time, Iran, in retaliation, is making strikes at our bases, strikes at our enemies, and closing down the Strait of Hormuz. And I agree with you, Chris, that it would be irresponsible to force the president to withdraw troops prematurely from the conflict, or to defund and abandon our troops. And as for the involvement of Congress, which we hear about repeatedly, both houses, the House and the Senate, have repeatedly rejected Democrat war powers resolutions. So although we haven't, explicitly passed an authorization of use and force, we've effectively done the same thing by rejecting these resolutions. So at this point, I and my Republican colleagues support our troops in this conflict while the president and his administration work to bring the conflict to an end.
Bob, President Trump is on his way back home to the American homeland after the U.S.-China summit in China. What did you think of that visit? Why was it important for President Trump to make it so? And any other comments that you want to make as to what you have heard has come out? What have been the results of that visit to China?
Yes. Well, I look forward to learning more. But, what has been publicly reported is mostly what I know, that President Trump addressed all the top topics that need to be covered. Taiwan is always a topic. President Trump indicated that Xi asked him whether he'd defend Taiwan, and Trump said, "We just don't talk about that." That's been the policy of successive U.S. presidents. In theory, we recognize there being one China, but no, we're not going to give the communist Chinese a green light to invade Taiwan, and I think Xi knows that. President Trump, I was very happy to hear President Trump pressed him on releasing the freedom fighter and political prisoner Jimmy Lai. Xi said that would be a tough one, according to President Trump. I mean, this is absolutely inhuman. This man is in his late 70s. They've sentenced him to 25 years in prison for no other crime than speaking out, in favor of freedom and freedom of speech in communist China. I actually, at the State of the Union address this year, I actually met Jimmy's daughter, who is very brave and advocating for her father's freedom. President Trump, came back and announced that that China would be buying Boeing jets and soybeans. We're not exactly sure how many jets, of course, civilian jets. And then finally, probably, very importantly, Trump addressed the issue of Iran. Of course, he pointed out that both sides want the conflict to end. Of course, China depends on Iran for 30% of its oil. And we have a strong interest in the conflict ending. But it's not clear at this point whether China committed to doing anything to get its ally Iran to be sensible and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. So I think President Trump covered all the things he needed to cover. How productive the trip was, it will remain to be seen, I think, over the next weeks.
Congressman, there's been talk of temporarily suspending the federal gas tax. President Trump is supportive of this idea, but Senator James Lankford said the other day, quote, "I don't see the momentum for suspending the gas tax." Is there momentum for this in the House?
Yeah, in both chambers, members have filed bills to suspend the gas tax. It is my understanding it would need an act of Congress to do so. I'm not against it, Chris, but it just isn't going to do that much. It's an 18-cent tax. And many times when any company faces rising prices, they don't necessarily pass the entirety of the rising prices on to the consumer. I'm not so sure the full 18 cents would be passed on to the price we pay at the pump. So I don't think it would do that much, and we'd be depleting the highway trust fund. So I'm firm. I usually don't lack for strongly held opinions, but I'm firmly ambivalent on this one. I don't oppose it, but I don't see how it's going to do a whole lot of good. We really need to get world oil supplies open again.
And that is Congressman Dr. Bob Onder, the subject of today's Speaker's Stump Speech, and we thank him for joining us as he does on Friday here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Doc, have a great weekend. Godspeed on your travels back up to D.C. next week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
To as well. He's at Bob Onder Mo, Bob Onder Mo on Twitter X. And if you're a constituent, you need to get a hold of him for something, he's got a great staff, take really good care of you. Onder.house.gov, onder.house.gov. All right, we're going to talk to another great American, Chris Salcedo, Executive Director of the Conservative Hispanic Society, host of the Chris Salcedo Show. We're going to talk about how and why Hispanic Americans are standing up for faith, family, freedom, and the Constitution and joining the ranks of common sense conservatives all across the country.
What a great first name he has.
Indeed.
Yeah, excellent first name.
Yes, I bet he's also a Christopher. Well.
Probably.
Yes, indeed. We'll talk to Mr. Salcedo next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms coming in Saturday morning. An isolated storm or two producing some wind or hail, not out of the question, but it's a low severe risk. Then we'll get some dry time in the afternoon, but we could see another isolated storm late day and early evening. 83 for the high as it's going to be warm and a little bit muggy. Sunday's hotter and dry. 90 for the high under partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Top-rated chiropractic care and more in our region can be found at Comprehensive Chiropractic. See chiropractic.com on the internets. See chiropractic.com. That's where Comprehensive Chiropractic can be found. Boy, they've got everything at Comprehensive Chiropractic. They've got your basic foundational chiropractic care, and it just gets better from there. They can take care of all your aches and pains, and boy, don't we all have them these days. Everybody's living very active lifestyles, and Comprehensive Chiropractic can help you with those day-to-day aches and pains and more. If you have any kind of chronic injuries, or maybe you just suffered an acute injury, I hope you didn't, but if you had like a slip and fall or an accident of some sort, or you developed something bizarre, you know, those things always pop up, they can take care of that as well. They can take care of tendinitis. They can take care of knee pain. They specialize in that, all kinds of different joint pain. I know that for a fact because I've been a patient of theirs for nearly 2 decades. They've also helped many of my family members, friends, and more. They got the studio upstairs. It's a health and wellness center. They've got Pilates and yoga classes. Really beautiful facility. You should go and check it out. They also have licensed massage therapists, and they can help you with your supplement and nutritional needs. It's holistic healthcare from stem to stern. Like I said, 24/7. They're available at cchiropractic.com. That's comprehensive chiropractic and sports performance at cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Now, Latino voters are playing a crucial role in today's primary election, specifically in Texas. According to a 2025 estimate from the U.S. Census Bureau, roughly 40% of the Lone Star State's population identifies as Hispanic. President Trump's gains with these voters were critical to his return to the White House. He saw a jump of 14 points of support from that group in 2024 compared to 2020.
Interesting point made there, Chris. The Democrats have been promising us for years that because of the massive influx and increase of the Hispanic population in Texas, that Texas was going to be blue, as if every Hispanic would automatically vote Democrat. The Democrats always presume that, don't they?
Well, you remember, only black people can represent black people in
You
black
ain't black.
congressional districts.
That's
so
right. That
kind of
too.
the same principle almost.
If you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black.
Yeah.
And if you don't vote for Democrats, then you're not Hispanic, and so on and so forth. Well, you know what? We're going to talk to the representative. We're going to anoint him the representative. If the Democrats can do it, we can do it too.
Exactly.
We got the guy here who's going to speak for all Hispanic Americans, Chris Salcedo, Executive Director of the Conservative Hispanic Society, host of the Chris Salcedo Show in Texas. Chris, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Guys, great to be with you. Thanks for the invite back. I appreciate it. And you may have heard, I wrote a whole book about the subject matter you're talking about.
Yes, you did. The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, a New American Revolution. This is a real thing, right, Chris?
Oh, it is a real thing. And you can thank partially the Democrats, and you can thank Donald Trump for taking over the Republican Party, because the Democrats lost their minds, and because Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and John Thune and these milquetoast Republicans screwed up their party so badly that Trump was able to swoop in and take over and give people in America, not just liberty-loving Latinos, but people in America, a real choice. I was always on Trump. Hey, man, why don't you start a third party? You know what? Frankly, he actually founded a second party, because now we actually have the America First coalition. It is the only thing standing against the Uniparty, which is made up of Democrats and Republicans in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital.
Chris, I told you this last time we had you on. I just absolutely love your first name. Just beautiful. Love it.
Yeah. All the cool people in this world are named Chris.
Exactly.
That's the way it is. Yep.
Speaking of Texas, you've got a very interesting Senate Republican primary race down there, and a new poll from the Hobby School of Public Affairs shows Ken Paxton leading John Cornyn 48 to 45%. Where do you see that race ultimately ending up, and how much of a factor will Hispanics be in the Republican primary?
This is a runoff. This is a primary runoff. There are several across the state. I've got to be honest with you that, guys, just bear with me as I give you some inside Texas politics.
All right.
Okay.
The majority of the Texas House is run by, air quotes, Republicans. However, whenever those air quotes Republicans get into power, they start giving out chairmanships and power to kill conservative bills to Democrats. That's how they operate in Texas. So we have been very much infiltrated here in the state of Texas. The Republican Party has been, and so has Texas, by these fake Republicans. And we have one such individual who is the current very senior senator by the name of John Cornyn. This man is a menace. This man has been 24 years in the Senate, 40 years in elected office. And when you ask even his biggest donors, what has John Cornyn done for Texas? They can't tell you. I can't tell you one time when John Cornyn decided against Washington, D.C. to support Texas. Not once has he ever done that. So that poll you cited is probably on the low end. This is a runoff. So you've got conservative Ken Paxton, a man who has done everything he can do to protect me and mine and you and yours from Marxists and leftists. And John Cornyn has done everything that he can to surrender us to those aforementioned leftists and Marxists. And in a runoff, you tend to get the party base showing up. And if the party base shows up, you're looking at a Ken Paxton victory, because not only because of what the inactivity of John Cornyn in being an actual representative of the state, but we also want to pay back John Thune. And we'd also like to pay back Mitch McConnell and Lisa Murkowski and John Curtis and Tom Tillis and probably about 15 to 20 more Republicans who think they know better than the founding fathers of this country, thinking that their zombie filibuster is superior to an actual debating filibuster, and they denied us the Save America Act. I am very much motivated, as are conservatives, to punish John Thune for his intransigence and his saying to 85% of the country, screw you, and to which we're going to say to him, no, we're going to take away your playthings if that's your attitude.
But Chris, Cornyn wants to rename a highway after President Trump there in Texas. Isn't that enough?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, seriously, dude, that shows you how desperate this guy is, because he's been never Trump. He's a never Trumper. Everybody knows it. And the only reason why he's pro-Trump now is because President Trump secured the nomination and won the election. And everybody knows it, that John Cornyn, just like John Thune, like John Barrasso, like John Bozeman, a lot of Johns. You know what happens in Johns. You know, a lot of goes on in Johns. So, yeah, anyway, so, yeah, this naming Highway 287 after – he wouldn't even call it the Trump Memorial Highway. He just called it number 47.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Seriously, dude? It's like, come on, really? And we already have a Highway 47. So it just shows you how out of touch. I mean, I don't think John Cornyn's been in the state for a while. I don't even think he knows we already have a Highway 47 down by College Station.
Indeed. Chris Salcedo is our guest here this afternoon. He's the author of the book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. Also, executive director of the Conservative Hispanic Society, and he does the Chris Salcedo Show every single day in Texas. Real busy man indeed. Chris, I feel that Republicans were really late to the party with inviting Hispanic Americans in and welcoming them in. Thank goodness Donald Trump kind of knew this along the way. And, Chris, the reason I say that is in the mid-'90s, I ended up going from the Midwest to the East Coast. I was on the East Coast for about 10 years. Went to Fordham University. I went to law school up there. And, I'm a white kid from, like, suburban St. Louis, almost out in the sticks. And all of a sudden, I'm thrown into the giant American melting pot of New York City. And one of the groups of friends that I ended up becoming buddies with was this huge contingent of my colleagues from Puerto Rico. And it was a mixture of Puerto Ricans and Cubans who all went to a Jesuit prep school down there. And I just became friends with them. One of them ended up being my roommate, Jose Benitez, for like 3 years. And I learned in the 90s that Hispanics, Latinos, are very conservative people. So I'm kind of like, man, why did the Republicans take so long to reach out while the Democrats just basically continued to try to take every minority voter, including Hispanics, for granted? This should have been done a long time ago, right? Republican outreach to Hispanic Americans.
Yeah, and I don't call it outreach, and I talk about this in the book. I call it, think about this. When you're doing outreach, that's what Democrats do. They every 2 or 6 years, Democrats do quote unquote outreach. And when you do outreach, your palms are facing up and you're asking for something. They want your vote, and they're going to promise you the moon and never deliver. That has been the leftists and the Marxists and the way they've conducted business. When you do what I call partnership, your hand is in the handshake position, and you're telling the Latino community, the Black community, whatever community, that you're going to be in a partnership with them, and it's going to be for the long term. So that's what I've always told Republicans to do. Of course, under Mitch McConnell, the dinosaur, the fossil, the pro-communist China Mitch McConnell, that never happens because either didn't have the imagination or he wanted to let the Democrats have that constituency because he never really wanted to win. The Republicans never really the Republicans who have been in charge for the Uniparty, they never really wanted to win. Right now, the only reason why the Democrats are viable is because there's a certain number of Republicans who keep them in the game. President Trump took over their ineffective party in the Republican Party and said, you know what? I think we ought to really oppose a Democrat every now and again, and do so in a real and substantive way. That's why he was able to capture the Republican Party, why he was able to drive out Paul Ryan and Karl Rove and George W. Bush and all these fakes and phonies and reveal to America that we have been treated to a sham, a scam. The two-party system has been a sham and a scam. And it is the new political divide in this country now is America first versus America last. And there are Republicans and Democrats on both sides of that new divide. And Americans, I'm telling you, you better figure out which side you're on because it's go time. And that's what the rise of the liberty-loving Latino, the new book, is all about. Not only do we tell you how we got here with the 2024 election, but it's a roadmap to 2026 and beyond, how you continue restoring America, restoring the promise of the United States. And the good news is you got all the millions of liberty-loving Latinos now engaged in the fight to make sure the next generation doesn't get handed a country that is worse than the one they inherited.
Chris, Texas, of course, was the first state to engage in redistricting, and a lot of those districts were down by the Mexico border. They were heavily Latino districts that President Trump won, but a lot of people are expressing fear that we may not have those voters in future elections, and the redistricting could backfire. How fearful are you of that scenario?
I'm going to say it all depends on how much they've been watching the biased left-wing press. If they buy the propaganda about about how illegal aliens somehow deserve to be in the United States, which they don't. If they buy the propaganda that our government is out there murdering U.S. citizens who were just standing there minding their own business, which isn't what happened. You're not allowed in America to use weaponry to kill federal agents, but that's exactly what these leftists have done, and they earned a bullet. Every single one of them deserved a bullet for what they did, because our federal agents deserve to go home to their families too. It all depends on how informed these people are, and if they are informed and they see what's really going on and they understand that illegal aliens have no right to be in the United States, I think those districts, which by the way, Democrats were on record opposing Latino districts. I'm told that when you oppose Latino districts, you're a racist. But Democrats in Texas did, and they are racist, by the way. And I'm very glad that these districts are no longer going to be gerrymandered on the basis of race. We finally defeated, guys, the Democrats' divisive racism. I'm so excited about the fall of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So, I think these districts that are newly created that happen to be majority Latino, I think it's going to be a toss-up as to whether we're getting their news and their information. But if they want stability of the rule of law, they're gonna vote for conservatives.
Indeed. Chris, what should Republicans' message writ large be to voters, all voters, no matter what their ethnicity or background? What do Republicans need to emphasize in what's always generally a very tough midterm, right, when you're the party in power, especially when you have a president who's going into his final 2 years? It's going to be difficult already, but Democrats, as you pointed out, continue to shoot themselves in their own feet. So what do Republicans need to do to take advantage of that?
Well, I can, I'm a conservative. I'm a constitutional conservative. I haven't had a home in the Republican Party in many, many moons. Again, with the aforementioned John Thune running things and Paul Ryan running things. So I can tell you what I'm telling my countrymen.
Mm-hmm.
I am telling my countrymen that when you get out there, that the action in 2026 is going to be in the Republican primaries. Sadly, Nebraska already screwed the pooch on this one. Sadly, West Virginia already screwed the pooch on this. And I'm telling my fellow Texans, don't miss your second bite at the apple. You've got to take out John Cornyn. Because here's what I'm going to tell you, fellas, is that if we go into the fall and it's John Cornyn versus this white fake Christian James Tallarico, there's no choice. There is no choice. If you want to have a choice in November, you damn well better vote for the constitutional conservative who is part of the America First coalition. Don't vote for these people in the United States Senate who sold you out, who have been sitting on their butts for the last 10 months doing nothing, absolutely nothing to advance President Trump's nominees, to put up U.S. attorneys that would go after Democrat malfeasance and illegality, that have done nothing on the Save America Act. Don't vote the same people in who are going to just run out the clock and try to keep Democrats in the game. That's not who you want.
Chris,
so, guys,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, the whole thing about it is we have got to start voting our values and stop voting party. Start voting your values. And if you value hard work and getting things done, you can't vote for anybody in that damn Senate right now who's in the and none of them in the minority, and certainly none of them in the majority who are part of this cabal denying an 85-15 issue. And I'll just say this about that. Remember what the Democrats did with Obamacare? Remember? Not one poll showed that Americans wanted Obamacare. but they crammed it down our throats anyway. Here come the Republicans. They've got an 85-15 issue. What do? They say, we're going to deliver for Democrats. We're going to continue to preserve their right to cheat at the ballot box. And that's exactly what John Thune and that cabal just did when they said, and then they had the gall to come to the microphone and say, well, we just plumb ran out of time as they sat there for the last 10 months and have done nothing since the big, beautiful bill. Nothing.
Chris, I just want to say while we wrap up here, I didn't realize to this interview that you were based there in Texas. I am a Texan. I was born in Tyler, Texas. My dad was born and raised in Tyler, Texas. My mom was born and raised in Atlanta, Texas. They met at Texas College in Tyler. I've been here my entire life, but my heart is in Texas, my friend. Go Cowboys.
Well, that was back when I was watching the NFL before they went woke. But yes, I mean, Texas, that's why and I originally came from San Diego, guys. And so I saw the People's Republic of California fall, and I don't want that for my new home of Texas. I really don't want it. So that's why I'm fighting like hell to stop it.
Indeed. Well, thank you for all you're doing. Chris Salcedo, he's the author of the book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. And if you're ever in Texas, you can check him on the radio, The Chris Salcedo Show. Chris, thanks so much for everything. We'd love to talk to you again soon sometime.
Thank you, my friend.
You guys are the best. Thank you, guys.
You as well. Hardcore great American right there. Chris, ChrisSalcedo.com, 5:44 in the PM. Next up, Joey V's Movies.
Obsession.
Indeed. I'm sure we'll come in with a really cool clip. Oh, Chris, the other day, a few weeks ago, you were asking about the band Joy Division.
Yeah. I've never heard of them.
This is them.
This is them? Okay.
This is them. This was a very famous song in the 80s, Love Will Tear Us Apart.
And still never heard of it.
And the reason I remember, this was like a college hit for me. So, Joy Division here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Joey V's Movies next. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some scattered storms coming in Saturday morning. An isolated storm or two producing some wind or hail, not out of the question, but it's a low severe risk. Then we'll get some dry time in the afternoon, but we could see another isolated storm late day and early evening. 83 for the high as it's going to be warm and a little bit muggy. Sunday's hotter and dry. 90 for the high under partly cloudy skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The news and talk.
I'm optimistic that during the summer we will see gas with a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later.
That matters to St. Louis.
The energy prices, while painful, are not going to be around forever.
This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Let me tell you about a place that I don't just endorse. I actually go there myself, and I actually have a dental appointment next week on the 18th to see my good friends at the Dental Link. Dr. Link and his son Andrew, they run it, and right away you can tell it's a different type of office. You know, it doesn't feel like one of those cold clinical offices. It feels more like a place where people actually enjoy working there, and that really matters. You know, I noticed that immediately. The staff, they're relaxed, they're professional, they're friendly, and that all starts with how Dr. Link treats his team. He treats them like family. Now, for me, this is personal. I've had dental implants done there. And that's no small thing. It's major dental work. But when they walked me through the whole process step by step, there was no pressure, no confusion, just straight answers and making sure I was comfortable the whole time. And if you've been putting something like that off because you're nervous, I get it. But here's what you should know. They offer many dental implants, which are less invasive, quicker recovery, and a lot less discomfort than the traditional route. I'll tell you this, getting my implants done was a game changer. They look natural, they feel natural, and honestly, it gave me a level of confidence back I didn't even realize I was missing. If you've been thinking about dental implants or any type of dental work, just go talk to them. The Dental Link, they're located in Baldwin, right there at 141 and Manchester. Give them a call today at 636-496-8584. Or you can check them out online at thedentallink.com, thedentallink.com. Do good, do well, have fun doing it. That's their motto.
Hey, Columbo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Hey, this is Chris Arps. If you enjoy a good cigar like I do, check out Dorset Cigar at 11396 Dorset Road in Maryland Heights. They'll help you find the perfect smoke, and they have a fantastic premium selection. Mention promo code NewsTalkSTL for 7% off. Visit DorsetCigar.com.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the entire world.
I love you so much.
It's weird how you two are dating all of a sudden.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you! I was calling to see if there's a way I can cancel a wish. I'm sorry, we don't really do that. So she's just stuck like this forever? Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you live.
Ooh, that
Whoa.
is the trailer for the movie Obsession. It's a horror film about wishing a crush would fall in love with you. Let's see what Joey thinks about it.
Joey, baby, what movie are you playing?
Brought to you by Harry J's Steakhouse in Moscow Mills.
Today we're talking Obsession. Here's the plot. After breaking the mysterious One-Wish willow stick to win his crush's heart.
The what?
One-Wish willow stick.
Oh,
You gotta
I've got
break
one
the
of those
stick.
at home.
Yeah, of course you do. A hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but soon discovers that some desires come at a dark, sinister price. Now, this plot twist of a wish not going as planned, that's as old as time. You got 1001 Arabian Nights. They did it 1,300 years ago. You got The Twilight Zone. This is season 1, episode 32. I mean, that's from the 60s. So what is so different about this one? And another thing about The Twilight Zone, those episodes are about 25 minutes long.
Yes.
And I think
Love that
Obsession could have benefited from being 25 minutes long instead of an hour and 50 minutes.
Uh-oh.
This is a Gen Z horror film, and that means that, you know, texting and scrolling on phones, it's rotted Gen Z's brain so much that the concept of talking to another human, that's enough to base an entire horror film around. And as a reminder, Gen Z is 14 to 29-year-olds.
Okay, thank
so
you. I
we're
needed
safe.
that.
I'm not insulting anyone in this room or in the station currently. All of the characters in Obsession, they're in their early 20s, and the main dude, he can't bear to ask a girl out, so instead, he buys a stick that grants wishes, and then when he breaks it in half, he asks it to make a girl fall in love with him against her will. So he can't even say, hey, do you like me? No? Okay, I'll move on with my life. No, he's got to just put this girl under a love potion, basically, and make her a sex slave. I don't understand. I mean, I've got a beautiful relationship at home. I'm very happy. Chris, you're happy with your wife, right?
Bliss.
You're able to talk to her. You don't need some stick to make her do chores around the house, right?
You're getting personal now, Joy.
Now, most of the scares are what Gen Z would call cringe. The main girl, when she's under this love spell, she smiles too much. She makes too much direct eye contact. She recites poetry at a party. And then she shows some public displays of affection. It's horrifying, right?
Yeah.
To have to look someone in the eye. That reminds me of this term, the Gen Z stare. I think
Right.
that's when you go up to someone at customer service or McDonald's and you say, hey, how are you doing? And they just look at you and have no idea how to be polite or smile anymore.
I thought they were just stoned.
Yeah, that could be it, part of it. It takes over an hour for the good stuff to kick in Obsession. I mean, the girl, eventually, this takes so long, she does make a sandwich out of her boyfriend's dead cat.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Cuts his hair while he's asleep, duct tapes the front door shut so he can't leave. And then when he does leave, she just stands there at the front door and pees herself until he comes home. So that's the horror side of this movie that you were wondering about.
No supernatural been involved with this.
And then finally, when there's 15 minutes left, the gore, it kicks in. And that's when my rating went from just a mediocre 2 to a 3. It went to a 3 out of 5 toasted raviolis once I saw some blood. I'm a sick man.
You are.
Yes.
Fangoria.
There seems to be a theme here, gore ratings.
I encourage anyone going to see Obsession to stick it out, pun intended.
Okay.
Because it does get better eventually. It's got Andy Richter in it, the sidekick of Conan O'Brien, for a few scenes. And then he's never spoken of again. That's bizarre. I don't understand why you would have someone so famous for a nothing role. And then on the way out, the promotions people, they gave us all dead cat sandwiches when we walked out of the theater.
No way.
But it was grilled tomato, cheese, and avocado chunks. So you know I loved it, right?
Of course you did.
guess.
That's my
A lot of
nickname
blood
around
there.
here. They
How
call
did you slip that into the menu?
that's what they gave everyone. They gave everyone these cat sandwiches. And then when I took it home, I added a little more meat.
Yeah.
There was no meat on this
That's kind of
sandwich.
weird, though.
Isn't that nice of them, though?
Yeah, but
Also odd.
very odd.
And they gave everyone these One Wish Willow sticks, these little props.
I want one of those.
And I saw that they're selling for $50 on eBay. So I think I'm going to make some money on seeing this movie, even though I give it a 3. I mean, being fed and making $50, I think that's a good
3's
night
not
out.
bad. That's mediocre. I mean, it's not good. It's not bad.
And speaking of chunks, avocado chunks, I think it's going to make a good chunk of change. It does seem like it is something that the Gen Z audience was really enjoying. So when they see themselves up on the big screen, not being able to talk to someone, they'll go, "Oh, that's me," and they'll tell their friends, and then all their friends will go see it. I bet you this makes $30 million domestic this week.
But this isn't a movie for me and Tim, our generation.
Maybe I think if you're going undercover to see what Gen Z is like, then you may enjoy it. But
Would
just
I enjoy it on
pace yourself.
Netflix? Is this a Netflix movie for me?
I think it's better when you're with a group of people in a theater, especially if there's other kids around. You can get the reaction like, what is wrong with these idiots? Even if you don't like it, that whole adventure is still pretty fun. If you want some better and recent horror films that are about codependency, I recommend this one movie, Companion. It's a guy who's got this sex doll robot.
Oh, boy.
And she doesn't know
What's that rated?
That's rated R. She doesn't know that she's a sex doll robot, so it's got a good twist in it. And then there's also Together. It's about these codependent people who end up actually, their bodies fuse together. They go to kiss one day and their lips get stuck, and then later on their legs and their arms get stuck and they get fused together. So if you like The Fly, that body horror Cronenberg stuff, I recommend that one as well. But Obsession, I mean, you're going to be hearing about it. I think that it's going to be the big horror hit of the summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, that's because you can't stand thinking of someone just peeing at your front door waiting for you to come home. I think that's romantic.
Or dead cat sandwiches. I don't know how much I can get into those either.
Chris recently experienced a dead cat situation.
Yeah.
So
I thought about that. I'm traumatized. I don't want to go
handle
see
it
that
right now. I'm
Joey,
sorry
we're about to hit
up.
Memorial Day weekend next weekend. Are there any big blockbusters scheduled to come out this summer?
My top 5 are Disclosure Day. That's June 12th. That's Steven Spielberg. Toy Story 5, June 19th. Jackass 5 and Supergirl. That's June 26th. And then, of course, this is for Tim and Chris, The Odyssey.
Oh, yes.
By Christopher Nolan. That's July 17th.
I hope they don't screw it up.
And is the Spielberg movie supposed to be like part 2 of Close Encounters? That's what I'm hearing.
I think it's part 7 of Spielberg's Alien Adventures. You got Close Encounters. You have E.T.
Yeah.
He's made a bunch of Alien movies.
All right. That is this week's movie Obsession. Joey gives it 3 toasted wraps. So go and check it out this weekend if you have a hankering for Dead Cat sandwiches. Up next, Larry Connor's USA. The story behind the story, the attempted assassination of George Wallace. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive and have a great weekend.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every